Jen prefers Jen.
Oh,
Okay, great, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Lucy Robbins Wells Library Board of Trustees meeting for Monday, October 16th. We do have a few people remote that you can see up on the screen. You'll see me up on the screen too, because it helps me to see anybody that's remote when they raise their hand. It's hard for me to keep track of it, so sorry for that. Hope it doesn't want to cause any confusion. I want to welcome two new people to our board and in our meeting. We have Chris Riley and George Bernardo, right? Is that how you say it?
Bernardo, yes.
Bernardo, great. So welcome.
Thank you.
And as I said earlier, ask questions if you have them now. If you have them later, track me or anyone else on the board down for those things. We're just going to go through the agenda, and when we get to the minutes, I have a little extra thing that I have to do for minutes, procedural wise. When we were voting people in, we got all excited and we only made one motion, so we'll have to make our second motion, which happened to be for George. So that's really just a
Formality.
a formality at this point, yes. I can't imagine the vote would look differently. So at this point, I'll turn it over to Elizabeth, our secretary, for roll call.
George Bernacco,
Here.
Andy Brecker,
Here.
Anna Eddy,
Here.
Colleen Crook, Iris Larson, Leanne Mankey, Maureen O'Connor Lyons,
Here.
Chris Riley,
Here.
Neil Ryan,
Here.
Christine Shushin,
And
Diane Stam,
Here.
Fiona York,
Here.
Lisa Maxton,
Here.
Karen Benner, Sheila Rowell,
Yeah.
and David Nagel.
Here.
Roll call done.
Super, thank you. So then we'll look for public participation. Jen, I always look for you to tell me if there's anybody online for public participation at this point.
No, just me.
All right. And I don't see anyone in the meeting from the public. We'll move right on to town council liaison. Dave?
I have nothing to report that directly affects the library at
Okay.
this time.
What are the two questions we always ask you? What are the two questions we always ask you? What's going on with the building committees? Nothing.
Oh, okay. I was waiting.
Let you off the hook.
okay.
They are waiting for several building committees to submit their final reports. And as you know, we've gone through several town managers of town hall reno, and we've gone through several facilities managers, and then I think there's bureaucratic paperwork to make certain everything is clear and correct before they dissolve them and present them to the public, and obviously for an audit. So my understanding is that probably everything except for the Anna Reynolds building committee, which will continue until it's concluded, which will ask all the others that that other central facilities committee won't fully meet.
Is it fully staffed yet?
I'm not quite certain. I know there's a majority. They have enough to have a majority membership, but I don't quite know whether one position has been filled or not.
Do we know who those people are yet?
Pardon?
Do we know who those people are yet?
Yes, but don't ask me at the moment.
Okay.
I've told you before.
All right.
You're talking about the permanent facilities commission, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I think you mentioned Joe Harvey and a guy named Monty Fine.
Yeah, but that's only two. It
Yeah,
sounds
I
like
think
that
that-
more people have been
I think
appointed.
there was
since then.
another name, but I quite frankly do not remember them all.
Okay. If it comes to, we'll circle around at the
We'll circle back.
end of the night. And then Republican board appointees.
We, as opposed to the Republicans, as opposed to Democrats, are concentrating on
The election.
So
Okay,
I don't think anything will be resolved until after that.
very good, thank you. Anybody have any questions for Dave? I got
Yes, this is Maureen.
Go ahead, Maureen.
Dave, do the existing building committees, for instance, our library renovation committee, do we have to do anything formal to disband, or is that automatic?
I have not been informed, but I know others have, so I would imagine you have to meet, but that's just me, in my opinion. I don't know formally. I know others have had to have a meeting to say goodbye, but that may not be the case. I will bring it up at the next council meeting.
Yeah, if we could just
Thank you.
clarify that, we'll have to gather those folks together. Okay. Secretary's report, I don't see Iris. Don't think we have a secretary's report. We do have approval of the minutes. Any, as I mentioned, as we first started, when we were making motions on the new board members, we got all excited that we had two new folks to join us, and we think the way the conversation went, we ended up making a motion and accepting one, but not two. However, half of us were sure that we had made the motion for two. So as we go through the rest of the meetings, I would like to, tonight, after we read through this, go through, have somebody make a motion. And George Bernardo is the one that we kind of left it as, we know he's interested.
Can we amend the
but-
minutes or do we make a new motion?
I think we have to make a new motion.
Okay.
Right. I just wanted, if you're reading through those minutes and saying, hey, what happened here? That's the best of my knowledge, what happened. Any other questions or corrections? Okay, I would entertain a motion from somebody to,
So moved.
thank you, Anna. Second. Thank you, Fiona. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed?
I have to abstain. I wasn't. at the meeting.
Fine, thank you. Neil abstains. Secretary's still reviewing this.
I did put in minutes that I'm not aware of.
So I'm worried about forgetting the vote for the second time, so would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the nomination of George Bernacle
Correct.
for a position on the board of trustees, for a corporate position on the board of trustees.
May I have a
of the Lucy
second?
Robbins Old Library.
second.
Who said that?
Me.
Christine, thank you. Okay, any further discussion? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Welcome officially. With the dotted i's and crossed t's. Thank you. Supposed to be there. All right. Review of the annual.
Don't we have another one to do?
No, we did him.
I'm sorry. I missed it.
And
Thanks for my fault.
through the discussion and stuff that we had thought that we had formally made a motion for two, but we only made the motion for one, so that's what I was just trying to back up, to clarify. So we're legal. Okay, activities calendar. This is September. No, this is October.
I've done like every.
So we had our annual meeting last month. And now in October is when we really start to gear up for a couple of things. As you'll hear in some of the committee reports, we had some committee meetings talking about fund development and the 5K races and the facility site meeting, so we'll get reports on those later. But some of the things that I want to bring out is, remember that our Hanel concert is on a Saturday. It's December 2nd. Saturday,
Yes.
December 2nd for the Hanel concert. And for those of you that are newer, I'll just explain a little bit of what happens. Oops, did somebody get the, oh,
I'm making a grand entrance.
good, thanks, Iris, come on in. So what normally happens is, George C. Hanel left a large legacy donation, to the Board of Trustees. And the request, or the basis for the legacy, donation was to provide 2 cultural events a year. That could be anything. In the past, we've had, bookmaking collage things. We've had a lot of, entertainment when it comes to, musical events and things like that. So our next one is coming up Saturday, December 2nd. We should be here at 5. It starts when? It starts at 7. So board members should be here at 5.
I don't know.
Okay, we will,
I
just
think it's 6:30 actually.
put on your calendars, and we're hoping all board members can make it. I know December is,
She's
can
got,
be a tough
it's on
time.
the webpage already, so.
Okay, good. So what happens is we usually have a few treats. We really did this, big time before COVID-19. Now our treats and all of our other things are really, knocked down a little bit because of, I will say, lingering COVID-19 protocols. 7. Okay, so it will start, Saturday, December 2nd at 7 o'clock. But we asked board members to come earlier. We will be moving furniture. We're doing it, so we'll do it in the atrium. So if anybody has come here before, during those things, you know that we move the movable bookcases and stuff. So we need folks to help with that, help setting up chairs, set up a little refreshment, stand or whatever else, we do from that end. So,
No,
7.
5.
well, you want to be here because it takes a good hour to. Right, Jenny? At least
It's
an
right
hour.
there, goodbye, we're not gonna send you home.
No, but to move the bookshelf.
No, but we'll
chair
make
set
the
up.
heavy ones.
Bring your muscles.
Yeah, bring your muscle. And then it's a nice evening, and then, you know, at the end, we put everything back. Are we open on Sundays then? And so
Yes.
we will be open that following Sunday, so it's important that we get it all back that nighttime. As it comes closer, if we have people actually sign up, we might be able to have people do the setup and other people do, you know, the put back. If we have enough head count. But, it's something that the board sponsors because George C. Ham sponsored it, so it's nice for us to be there. We do have board tags. It's nice for us to wear the lanyards that say, you know, library trustee, and then if people have questions or whatever, they can come up to us, we can help answer. Or we could just ask Lisa like we do all the time. Or something, but if people have questions or what's going on. So again, mark that on your calendar for December 2nd, Saturday, if you can be here at 5 and the event starts at 7. If you can't be here at 5, but you could be here after, is it about an hour long?
Put all that together.
Karen, so Karen is the one that.
It's a good hour, how's that?
It's about an hour, and so then we would do, you know, the reverse, we turn the library back, so. If you couldn't come for the 5 o'clock setup, but you could stay later for the putback.
I'm guessing it's gonna be about an hour and a half because my.
That's usually what it's, yeah. Yeah, so you figure, 7 to 8:30. Hopefully 9 o'clock, whatever. It seems like it goes faster going back, no? It does. It always seems to go faster coming back, putting everything back in place. Less to worry about. And then I'll talk about it a little bit more at the House Committee meeting, but we did find a date that works for our staff for the House Committee walkthrough. And that again is a Saturday. We'd like to get started before the library opens. And that's Saturday, November 11th, which is also known as Veterans Day, if that helps you remember. But we would arrive at 9 before the library opens.
What time? I mean, what day?
Saturday, November 11th.
Okay.
Also known as Veterans Day. So I just bring that up so that you don't look at the calendar and go, oh, it wouldn't have been today. She wouldn't have done it on Veterans Day, but we did. So, so that's there.
At 9 a.m.
9 a.m. is when we start. We go through the library before it opens. We try to hit the public rooms before the library opens, and then we go through the rest of it up and down. Even if you're not on the House Committee, you are invited to come through. Everybody on the board is invited to come through and see, get a feel for what happens. It's our annual walkthrough. We're gonna make our best and see what happens.
In the eye opener.
Can be. Definitely. Yep, especially if you haven't, through COVID, you know, we didn't come in an awful lot. The new folks that get the new person tour, you're welcome to come back again, for the next tour. But it's been a while since you've gone through it. It's nice to, see things up close and personal. So that's it for the activity calendar for now. Just let me check. All right, then we will move on to the committee assignments. Leanne Mankey is our treasurer. She could not be here tonight. This is, she also serves on another committee that meets on the third Monday, so every time in October, we only have to push our meetings out due to is it Columbus Day still? Indigenous Day, due to the library closing in October for one day. She could not make it, so she did send in her report. Did everybody have a chance to go through it? Does anybody have questions? Good, because I can never answer them. All right. And did you guys get copied on those?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Making sure you're in the loop there. So next I'll move on to the library director's report with Lisa Master.
Sure. So staff is getting back into the schools. We are starting up school visits here for the elementary school age children. Then we bus them for between 9 and 10, and they get to visit the library before it's open. They get a story time, and then they get to check out their own book. We work with the teachers to make sure they have library cards. And if for some reason they can't have a card, we do have a collection that kids can check out, and if they return them, they do. If they don't, they don't, but at least they can take home a book.
What I used to think of as the beach books.
Kind of, right, but we try to not, you know, we want to have something for it so they don't get embarrassed.
Question, when you say bus them, so
The schools, we work with the teachers, we work with the schools, and then, yep, and they do one school at a time, and then, the different grades, and then we work with the teachers to schedule it, or the different schools to schedule it for them to come here.
so
So
Board of Ed provides transportation.
they
Nice.
provide the buses.
Excuse me, just a question. You were saying that, you know, the books for the kids who can't get library cards, is there restrictions on library cards? I guess I'm trying.
No, it's just that, if they're a student that doesn't live in Newington,
Oh, okay.
and they're not able to get a card for whatever reason, because some students, you know, do, like, they might live in Hartford or something.
Okay,
We want to make sure that they can still check out a book.
okay.
So it's a book that, it's a collection that, it doesn't matter if it comes back or not, but it's a new book and a, you know, a nice book that they can check out. And usually they do come back, but we just want to make sure they have something. The cards typically, they just have to be a Newington resident, and the parent just has to fill out the application, sign them up, and then they get their own card. But we've been working with teachers. We will send the applications to the classrooms, and then they go home to the parents, and then they come back to the teachers, and they come back. So the cards are all made by the time kids get here.
Yeah, I'm familiar. My kids have gone through
That whole process, yeah. The September was National Library Card Sign Up Month, and we issued 79 new cards, which was nice. We hired 3 new substitutes for the library. One is going to be in circulation, and 2 are actually going to be shared between reference and circulation. Nicolene Davis, Maria McNeil, and Lynn Dumas. And Maria McNeil actually used to be a page here. And she's since gone to college, got her master's in library science, and is now working here. And I don't know if you remember her brother worked here, Joe, who is now a priest. And he's actually coming back here to serve somewhere in the area, so that's gonna be neat. We've been continuing our work with Yvonne Alston, the DEI training, and we did a workshop for staff on unconscious bias and also inclusion, and that was pretty interesting, and staff really seemed to get a lot out of it.
And so DEI is diversity,
Equity and inclusion. Yes. And I just wanted to point out in the newsletter, this Saturday, I don't know if you're going to talk about the Friends reception, but we have that. But the following on Sunday, we have the Anita Wilson Memorial Concert Series. It's full. So if you didn't sign up, maybe you're out of luck. But it's at the senior center at 1 o'clock, and the whole family will be there, and a lot of her friends. But we're really pleased. It's a Disney Magic theme for families. And then that's about it. That's about all I have.
Any questions for Lisa?
Lisa, it's Maureen. I have a question. For when you were talking about the visits, library visits with the kids,
Yes.
I understand there just must be a handful of out of Newington students, right? I mean, I don't think it's,
Yes.
Not
it's
being
not
resident.
is there
no,
any
it's
way that the teacher could reach out to those parents and suggest that they get a library card from their local library?
We can, I mean, we tell the teachers, and I don't know if they do that or not, but, I'm not sure whether, I think the teachers encourage it, but whether that happens, I'm not sure.
Okay. I mean, I know teachers have a lot on their plates, but
Right,
also knowing how kids are feeling left out and stuff.
right, exactly. That's why they have the book collection. That's that collection for them.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Maureen. Anything else? Is there a separate assistant director's report? No. Okay, so I'm gonna go. Friends of the library, Sheila.
Hi, I are really busy right now. We have the book sale, mega book sale. We're doing a lot of things like, Michelle and I went around and made pictures that we're doing on Facebook. We're gonna be doing in 10 days to the book sale. Very different stuff that we're gonna have. We have a lot of books. We have almost 600 boxes of books.
Oh, my God.
Well, that's not, so they tell me that's not the biggest amount. They tell me there's been over 800.
Wow, God.
But that doesn't include all the art books we have that were a donation from the Britain Museum. We have, they're gonna be out there. We have puzzles galore. If anybody is into jigsaw puzzles,
Gee, how the world get so interested in jigsaw puzzles?
I COVID, I think.
COVID, right.
Absolutely, but they go from, very simplistic ones in kids to, sort of the PhD in jigsaw puzzles, which is all the same color. Kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, there's some of them that are wild, but anyway, we're gonna put those out in the hall this time, and we also have some teddy bears. That we donated, that we're gonna put with the kids ones. We got lots of really beautiful children's books. That have been donated, it's really amazing when I sort them. They look like they've never even been opened. Just, I think, they give so many to, the kids never open them, and so that's what we end up with, which is a wonderful thing. So that's coming up. We're really excited about that, and there's the flyers around, and signs are up, around, signs are up here. Tim came back and fixed the one down there. I don't know what we're gonna do about the one on the shed. I think we can just put a big dash.
Yeah.
And from here to here. Because the middle of it came off and all the rain and stuff. Okay, what else we do? We have a scholarship program. I don't know if we talked about that before. We've got some information out there now. That we're two $500 scholarships for Newington students or students elsewhere going to school in Newington. That, and that volunteer at the library. But we do have quite a few students from the library that volunteer here. We do a really great job. What else are we doing? Winterfest is going to be January 19th. That's.
Get your tickets now.
Get your tickets now, yep, starting planning now. We have musicians already, I think that's about, we have a lot of sponsors.
And Saputo is gonna sponsor them like they did last year as well.
Great.
Which is nice.
When is Winterfest?
The 19th.
19th.
On Friday.
It's always in Friday.
Usually is, yeah. I think that's all.
Can I mention about the reception Saturday?
Yeah.
So the friends are having a reception for current friends, so they just did a big push to get new members, or get people to renew. So everybody that renewed or that's a current friend got an invitation, either email or they were sent a postcard. So it's Saturday 1 to 3. If you renew or sign up now, between now and the 20th, they have a basket that they're raffling off, and they're gonna pull a ticket from anybody that does during that time. And they're gonna have, it's just a drop-in, They're gonna have a spin to win, and people get a free gift if they come, and they just wanna thank the people that are current friends. And they actually have almost doubled their membership since beginning of September.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, so that's
Now,
good.
Is that back up to like an original
No.
pre-COVID membership? or it's
No,
from-
no,
Okay.
no, but it's better than, I think, they lost a lot during the pandemic, just people just didn't renew, and then people have moved or died or. So these are actually more real numbers now, which is good.
Just had a question, you talked about the scholarship program for, is it for college programs? Is it for, I'm trying to understand what the, for college, oh, okay. Yeah, do they have to like select a certain major or something, or is it just?
They have to do so many hours of
So many hours.
volunteering. And there's no, it's not gonna be based on their, GPA, anything like that. It's all based on volunteerism.
That's nice.
Can I ask one question, Jill? Because the high school has an awards day, at the end, I think it's May every year. And, all the kids go and through the high school, they hand out scholarships and everything all on one day. And I know another organization that works with the guidance office to select the students based on a certain criteria. So I'm just wondering, are you working through the high school or are you doing it independently?
I think they're working, I think they're
They're
in touch
working
with the high school.
They're working to the high school, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty
So
sure.
they'll get the $500 on that day when all the other kids are getting them. Oh, okay, that's nice. Another plug for the library.
Yeah, I was gonna say good advertising.
Yeah.
We knew where you were going with that. Anna. No, it is nice.
And indirectly, the library.
Any other questions regarding friends? No? Okay, thank you, Sheila. We go through, so we'll go into committee reports, budget. I don't believe there's anything to report on at this time. For the new folks, the budget comes in fast. Right, comes in the beginning of December, you have to have it out. And end of
Beginning of Jan-
December,
Yeah.
beginning of January, and then it goes through the process. If you've gone through the process, the town manager reviews it, then the town manager decides what he brings forward to the council, then the council reviews it. And it's not only our library budget, it's every budget for the town that they review it and they go on and go through, so. We'll have more from that later.
And can I just add something?
Yes.
And during that process, there's a town council meeting where the library budget is on the agenda, and usually a segment of us, a group of us will go and support the library, and because Lisa or whoever the director is at that meeting talking to the council about the budget and what's being proposed, what we need, and so we are there as a show of support.
Thank you. To mention that part. All right, Pat, planning, evaluation and policy.
I don't have anything.
The masked woman, yeah. I had a question for you. We've done, some of the reviews and evaluations.
Yeah.
Are we gonna wrap that up and then get it over to town hall?
Yeah.
Okay, so we gotta figure out what the timing is on that for us. So as, one of the board's duties, because the library director has the unique honor of reporting to both the board of trustees and the town manager. So, once a year, we will fill out an evaluation. Based on certain criteria, how we feel that, the director is meeting our goals, that we set out for them and come through, and then it goes into the file. We do not set salaries or anything else like that, but it's our opportunity to give some feedback to the town on the director and how things are going. Any other questions for Pep? No?
Yep, there, actually, we have to vote on something tonight.
Yeah, that was something that he brought up.
Policy.
Sorry, yeah,
For the policy change.
the policy change.
Yeah.
And I did bring home the documentation.
I have a copy. You have a copy? Yeah. Can you read it? We'll give you the copy. You just get a copy of it. You don't have to spread the whole thing out.
Because I know we discussed.
Yeah.
Do you want my copy?
Yeah, sure.
Chris and George, did you get a
Yeah,
copy of that
I think
policy?
so.
Yeah, we sent out.
If anyone has read it, it was distributed.
Yeah. I have some questions.
Yes.
I can go down?
Yes.
Okay, so on page 2, at the very top, underneath criteria for selection of materials, it says professional library staff. And when I read it, I went, professional library, what does that mean, professional library staff? I mean, there isn't a definition. Professional library staff is someone who has a master's degree in library
And or experience.
and or, but it doesn't say that. I mean, I'm just thinking that, you know, I mean, if I came in and took a part-time job and sat behind the desk, would I be considered a professional library staff? I mean,
Not at first you wouldn't, no, because you don't have the experience to do collection development.
but it's,
But I don't think you want to get that specific in the policy.
no,
No.
I took it as some people, you know, I think library staff can offer suggestions and also they may have, be getting requests from different patrons coming through the library. So maybe that's passed on to the collection development librarian.
We have certain people that do it and certain people that don't, so they're part of the book selection committee. That actually purchase materials. Not everybody does in the library.
I just wondered if someone outside of us would challenge the term professional library staff. That was my only.
We can check on it. I know Dorothy looked at the collection development part. They've got the library materials policy from the state and she took some of the wording from the state. So.
And the only other comment I have, and this is being nitpicky, but you at the bottom of page 2, you have bullet, and then the last bullet goes to page 3, and I just don't like the separation of the bullets, so let's
Sure.
it's
fine.
the only thing you can, you know, just add another line to the page so that it can be together.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me, so what page is on page?
Page 2.
Sure, okay.
That was mine.
I just have a couple small things.
Yep.
So the first page under types of materials and then the sentence that says due to changing technology in the world, the library adapts the collection over time to meet patrons' needs. I changed it to patrons.
What does she
It
have?
says people's.
Yeah.
I just feel like that makes it more specific to the
Yeah.
library. And then, the last page talking about, if materials are in poor condition at the time of removal, they are discarded properly. And the rest of the sentence says in trash and recycling receptacles. I think it should just end with they are discarded properly.
Okay, so you don't tell people.
Yeah.
I always like the term book heaven.
Yeah, and that was just.
Or it could end up as a book sale.
That's right.
That's a form of heaven.
Or you could upcycle them to the books and everything like that. Some people use them for art and just you do the pages and everything. If they're in bad enough condition, you could do the program.
Some people in this room use them for art.
We're doing a display on that at the book sale.
Okay, so we're leaving the library professional language in it. We're changing, I'm just kind of reviewing because we're gonna have to vote on it.
Excellent.
We're changing the word to patrons.
Mhm.
And we're gonna tighten up the formatting. Anything else that we,
Get rid of
changes for
Trash receptacle and recycle bin.
Lisa, have you looked at this policy or you and your staff in the context of what's going on in Suffield? And have we covered all the bases with what the objections are to the way the Suffield Library has been managing its collection?
I don't think the objection was with the library as much as. I think that we're looking at it, we have a policy that you set for the process. And then this is just telling people how to choose materials, and if we want to have it a little bit vague, usually. I mean, my understanding of like the Suffield too is that people are gonna have problems with certain subjects regardless, no matter what you do. And what the best thing you can do is you have a policy in place as to how you purchase, and then also. If you have the professional materials and reviews that can back up why you purchased it for the library, that's what you offer them at the time. And I think the way it was handled in Suffield, plus even like Colchester, is that they didn't follow the policy. They went to government and first, and then the director was told what to do. And they were, and you know, it sounded like from Suffield, they were trying to manage the library. And she had a policy in place that they were ignoring. So I think,
I mean, what it comes down to for me is, do we have enough protections for you in this policy?
I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know if anybody does, to be honest. I don't know. I guess it depends on the political climate too, and where you're living somewhat. I mean, Laurel did, I think, and I don't have it on me.
It was several years ago.
We, in 2020, we updated the actual policy.
Policy, right, and I thought it was pretty tight as to, you have to make sure the person living within the town
Right.
actually read the material, what was specific objections, and then they had to write it up, and then it would go to a committee for review, and we could accept or reject.
Right.
I thought it was
To have the book removed or added?
We have a policy for, well, this is more, the policy here is this request for review, so this would be removal of the book.
Okay.
The library materials policy is how materials are added to the collection. I don't know, Andy, I don't know what that is sometimes, because I think, you know, a couple of the libraries had decent policies in place, and it didn't matter for the director unless the public got involved.
Well, I know you've put a lot of work into this
I
already.
didn't do the policy. I mean, I had somebody, but yes, go ahead.
But I would be amenable to delaying our taking action on this until you folks can look at it one more time and see what more could be added.
So
that would
here's
protect
the
you folks.
thing, if we want to apply for a grant, we have to have this policy
Oh.
approved tonight.
You put a letter in that.
You can always amend it.
Yeah,
But I sent this to the person who's in charge of the grant, and she didn't have any objections to the library materials policy. She was looking for certain things.
that's fine.
But I'm happy to, if we want to add more to it later, because even, you know, as things are happening in the world to do with this, you might want to look at your form and tighten the form up a little bit more and add more to it to make it a little bit more cumbersome for them to object, because some of the people objecting have not even read the materials, or, you know, I had somebody who complained about a book, but she didn't live in Newington. So having this form, I listened to her and I explained why we purchased it, and it had a good review, and I did all of that. But she couldn't fill out the form because she was a New Britain resident. So,
No, this is happening across the country. There are people in Florida who are objecting to
no, and I
libraries
think
in Nevada.
we had that with we've had this with a mother's group, that it's not the one that was in the paper. But they asked all the area libraries to remove a specific children's book. But no one, she didn't live in Newington. She never used our library because we asked her questions about the library. She didn't know anything about it.
Good.
And we kind of told her that, you know, no, we're not gonna do that. But she had already hit like 6 libraries.
But we have to anticipate
Right.
that this will get politicized in
Yes.
Newington, like it has in so many other places.
Yes.
And rather than having to deal with, oh gee, I wish we had had this in our policy, maybe we look at some of these trouble spots
Mhm.
and see what could have been done to prevent the issues for them, or at least to hold up something and say, hey, she followed our policy.
Right.
I mean, nobody's coming after us.
Well, eventually they could, because
Yeah.
I think the board is the level beyond me.
Yeah. I mean, what are they gonna do to me?
Nothing.
So I think the director and staff needs to be protected as much as possible from the wackos who we know will descend on our town eventually.
I will, okay.
And what I was just thinking was, because I read through, I think one of the attachments was the form for the restriction. I was reading through some of the questions and I do agree, some of it could be maybe tightened a little bit. I saw, there are some questions of how much of the material have you read or anything like that. So, I mean, I don't know how, what leeway there seems to be in there. Okay, did someone read one little passage and took it out of context? And, then they stop reading the rest of it and they don't, know, the bigger picture of what the book is. So maybe there's some stuff that's saying that, I don't know, kind of almost make it, I don't know if you could have a lawyer or someone with, law experience, just kind of look over and just kind of see, is there some kind of more, restrictions that can kind of be put into there to kind of.
Well, the other
protect a little bit.
thing I can do is there are several, this grant is brand new, but it's all dependent on having a current library materials.
Yeah.
Having, reconsideration of materials form, which we did do, that's current. But we could also see what other libraries are doing for their forms. The state wants a certain type of form, but we actually went a little bit further, I think, with some of it to try to restrict it, because even on I think in the policy, it says you can only, the book can only be, someone can only object to the title once a year. So once someone's objected and we've said no, another person can't come in and object to the same title. I think a lot of it too is subject matter. That's what it's coming down to too. So once they do have, they do displays upstairs and they have displays that may, offend parents, but we haven't had anybody say anything yet.
Not yet.
I know, no, I hear you, Andy. I mean, I think it's definitely gonna be coming at one of these times for sure. But I think if you're okay with the policy, okay with it. But if it's fine for now, I mean, I'm happy to look at other policies too. But we just need to get a policy in for this grant. And the policy she wrote is a good policy and it's based on what the state has just done for their own library materials policy. Dorothy was following that when she did it. Because the one we used to have was like 30 pages. And it was too specific about each subject matter, and it was just way too much information, way too specific. And this is more general because the formats are changing. We didn't even have digital formats the last time this thing was updated. So, and we don't have a lot of control over some of the digital formats that are purchased. We're part of a consortium, and that's something we're probably gonna have to address as a consortium.
Well, I make a motion that we approve the library materials policy. But that we revisit it after additional research into what more protections might be appropriate.
I'll second that motion. Maybe I'll shoot for like the new year to just do that, get it in place and then,
Before Laura Abrams starts arguing on it again.
okay.
All right, moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Thank you. And thank you for putting that work together, both of you and the PEP committee. That's kind of the policies and stuff that we go through and review. Investment committee, we all right?
Yes. Emailed out the investment report a couple days ago. First of all, Chris and George, I have to apologize to the two of you. I don't think I mailed this report to you. For some odd reason, I didn't get your email addresses in time.
Okay.
But I'll give it to you.
Okay.
I'll give it to you. See what I'm talking about. It's not. I apologize for that. Anyway, through September 30th, 2023, our portfolio balance stood at $719,513.98. We had a bad month in September, $20,503. But for the year, at least as of September 30th, our portfolio is up 5.66% for the year. So that isn't bad. I think the Dow is even or slightly down for the year. It is up a little bit. I'm not sure what the NASDAQ. But really, 5.66% is not a bad performance. Yeah, so that's the best. That's where we stand right now. And I didn't add the percent of restricted funds to this spreadsheet. I'll take care of that. Send that by next month. That's where our portfolio stands. 7/19/5/13/98. That's September, a year to date. Not bad. We also, our investment committee met with, our investment committee advisor Dean a couple weeks ago to go over where we are. And we looked at, our accounts, the performance year to date, how everything allocated, and, made a couple of minor changes. We replaced one of our funds with a, Vanguard fund with, fund from, sent out the report in the army, so that. What we did was we moved some money in our money market account from Goldman Sachs to the belly fund that specializes in investing in U.S. Treasury bonds, and it's moving cash into
Our cash receptacles.
higher yield, shorter term bonds. Those are two major. But overall, I mean, pretty comfortable with that. I think for the year, 5.6. And we'd like to meet every 6 months. We meet once a year until we should. And this should be last met in January. We have this meeting again by October 1st, so I couldn't schedule it, but we like to meet every 6 months. At best, so,
And more if needed.
every 6 months, or unless there's something unique going on in the financial world, we're gonna have a or emergency, but about that.
Neil, on your report, you have a line that says something like taxes, fees, commissions. We don't actually pay any taxes. Do we?
No, because fund dividends and investment income, like the state and local taxes.
So that line really is the commissions and fees charged by Kingston.
Oh, if you're talking, that's okay, that's another thing, yeah. That's what I want to bring up, just for informational purposes, how we compensate Kingston management, yes. It's an asset-based management fee of 0.78%, less than 1%. That's what they, for Kingston to manage our account, and their fee is taken directly from the account. So every account does everything.
So this year's around $5,500. That probably
Could be.
we will pay them. I'm just adding the cost.
Yeah, that's
Because there are no taxes in there, so fees and expenses.
yeah, they charge us, I think, the quarterly basis.
But that doesn't include any fees that are taken by the funds that they're invested in,
I don't,
right? So if you have ETFs or mutual funds, and they take 0.75%.
I think that comes from us.
Yeah.
It's our money.
Yeah, it's how they balance. That's
Yeah.
part of the reason they keep some of the cash fund in there
Okay,
to pay for charges as we rebalance our portfolio and stuff.
got it.
So that's paid for by our money.
But it's minimal. It's the
Right,
point.
yeah, what we count, how we count it is minimal.
Because there's also, I think, 250,000 in shorter term funds. If you look at Leanne's report, it'll show considerably higher balance in 7/19. I think he's got those in CDs right now, money market.
Yes, at $230,000.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, the two together, it's like 940.
Right.
See, that's like the separate thing.
So,
Cash account, it's not managed, it's not invested, but it's,
we'll keep a certain amount of liquid cash. Liquid cash that would pay for that. For those of you who are not used to reading these reports, we also have restricted funds and non-restricted funds. I talked about the Hanel concerts that we had earlier. That's an example of money that was given or left to the board, but it's a restricted fund because it can be used for the George Hanel events only. We can't use that to buy children's books, for instance. And so I always love unrestricted funds because that means that if this year we need to buy children's books, it goes to children's books. If next year we need large print books or digital things or hot spots or something like that. If it's unrestricted, the board can vote on where those funds are spent and how they're spent. The other thing that you should know is in the 501c, we have a policy that determines how we invest, the 60-40 or whatever we're going to do. You are legally mandated to have a policy if you're a 501c on how you're going to invest your funds and what goes through with that. So that's part of what the investment committee had done before with the guidance of the investors and investors.
I should note that just for the unrestricted, and I didn't update it through September 30th, but as of like August 31st, 66% of the funds were restricted. So it's probably somewhere down there.
How crazy, I don't know if this is crazy, but how crazy can this restriction get those with the time, like?
So, and you can get into this when we get to legacy and fund development. But oddly enough, although I can't imagine that we would do it, except that we could. If somebody offers us something, a donation to the library, we can choose whether we're going to accept it or not. If somebody offers us $100,000 unrestricted, I think we're all gonna want to accept that. If somebody offers us a pet elephant to feed and care and pen on Cedar Street, we might choose not to accept that, legacy is supposed to. And I'm being a little ridiculous in the things, but, if somebody says, I'm gonna give you something and it's gonna take all this extra care and feeding, whether it's something within the library or what have you. So we like to have things that are unrestricted. Sometimes people will give us something that is totally restricted. We have a couple of funds, if you go through the reports, you'll see things like the SLEBA fund or this fund or that fund, and those typically tend to be things that are somewhat restricted. And sometimes it's, a couple of $100 a year that will be towards large print books because somebody, really enjoyed those at some point in their life because their eyesight was gone.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody wants, many times we have school teachers that want to have children's books and develop that area and get interested in living life. So that's kind of when you hear all those terms back and forth, that's what happens. So remember, anybody offers an elephant, no, thank you. And always it's nice to have, money. We'll take any kind of money, even if they want to give us stocks, or if somebody says, well, I'm gonna give you these stocks and bonds, whatever it is, we'll take them and put them into our portfolios. We can take money that way, we can take old hard cash. Right, anything that goes through that, but just as you read through those reports and you hear the terms restricted, unrestricted, or a certain fund, right? That's kind of like where the money has come from. If it was a memorial, if it was restricted or anything else like that. But when all your friends and family get excited that you're on the board and they want to donate, unrestricted.
Okay.
George, the other thing is like if people call and ask, you'll try to encourage them. Sometimes they have an idea of what they want. And sometimes you have to talk them out of it. Just so that you can get the money unrestricted for the Legacy Society and then the board can use it differently. That might be more effective.
And when we get to fund development and legacy, they have developed some things you were in on the meeting, right? So you heard some of the ideas and they'll bring them up. So I don't want to steal their thunder, but we have certain ways of helping to encourage and direct folks, because lots of times they want to help, but they just don't know how. So, well,
I'm finished with my report.
thank you, Neil. Sorry, I extended it for you, but
That's fine, but it,
okay. And House Committee. So House Committee, we recently reupholstered the chairs. I think we got a lot of mileage out of that because it took us so long to get that done. So if you're in the quiet areas and you can look through, you can see that. We did a pretty good job through all this heavy rain. We didn't have atrium leaks again, right? So that's good, but we did have a drain that kind of overflowed, but it overflowed down the basement area, so while it was messy, it didn't affect the collections. We've had rain pour in our ceilings over our collection, so we tried not to have that, so that was good. I had mentioned earlier under activities committee that we are having a walkthrough for house committee, and that's really where we make our list of to-do items. Some of the items are done by the board, for instance, the reupholstering of chairs. Other items are brought to the attention of our town facilities committee if it's appropriate for them to work on it. Some things are quick, easy hits. Some things are more long-term, and we might vote as a board as to how we want to handle something, like we'll go through that. So the walkthrough is Saturday, November 11th, 9 o'clock. Come in the side door. Yes.
Yes.
So we come in the side door. And here's my little lecture that I give every year. Please be there just before 9, because what we're trying to do is get kicked off on the main floors before the public is here. And then we go into the back quarters after the library opens at 10. And then at the end, we go around the outside of the library to look at it, because the board owns the building and the land that it sits on. So we should at least once a year go through, we make that list, we do the checkoffs and see what happens from that. The new cleaning company, I'm gonna call them the new cleaning company, but are we in the second year with them? Yes, maybe. They've done a phenomenal job. You can tell the difference when you have the right cleaning company in here. It just helps the whole library stay better, look better as that goes through. So right now, we don't have any ongoing projects, but once we make that list, we'll have projects as that goes through. As long as the rest of it all stays together, right? Facility insight, if anybody has any questions for Anna? No? Show of hands, how many people think they're gonna be able to make it on that Saturday or are interested in making it?
When you mentioned it was November 11th, I actually have plans that day.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm taking you around for that, so I'll show you all.
You'll see.
I'll show you all
I'll show you.
all the nooks and crannies. of it.
And that's basically how it works. Yeah, but that's basically. what the
Diane.
walk- the behind the scenes term, yes,
It's Maureen. I'll be there,
thank you.
hopefully.
So I will send out when we're closer to that date, but it is before our next meeting, so I just kind of wanted to know, so I had Fiona, Anna, Maureen, did I see Pauline's hand up? Anyone else? George?
Chris,
There's Chris.
Gary and the banding, or no? No.
Puppy and Patty.
There you go.
Oh, nice.
have to come home
I have to come home.
Yes, right.
He's spending all of his retirement money.
Yep, that works.
Hey. Way to do it.
All right, super. That just kind of gives me a head count, so we know if you're intending to come. And you're running just a little bit late. I mean, you can still kind of lend your way in, and if you've done the walkthroughs before, you can try and find us in the library, but it just makes more sense. And you'll get a great tour from Lisa. It's basically that with, 5 or 6 more people walking around with you. So you'll get the one-on-one.
So you didn't get the outside tour, though, that's the difference.
Yeah. So that's why we try to have it early enough in the year, hopefully before the snow flies. Fingers crossed for the weather. All right, thank you. Next, facility and site with Maureen.
Hi, everybody. I'm under the weather, which is why I'm home. We met on September 26th. Everyone was invited, a small group showed up to discuss the lookbook and changes. There've been various emails and input from many of the board members, and we tried to take everything into consideration. I think the consensus at this meeting was that brevity is key. So rather than having a lot of verbiage, we thought we would go with good visuals, eye-catching visuals to capture every crucial part of the library, whether it be children's or technology or reading areas, circulation, whatever, the front and back views and overhead views, and to do some captioning, and then have web links for more detail. Anyway, Diane is going to take over. I think you have something to show. I can't show anybody from here, but LDS, our consultants, I've spoken to them and told them where we were at. They're perfectly comfortable waiting for direction from us, whether it be for more visuals, for whatever it is we need from them. So they're just waiting for more direction. And at this juncture with elections and stuff, we'd love to have something right after the election, but I'm not so sure the stakeholders of the town are, especially town councilors, are interested, not that they're not interested, but engaged enough right now because of their election and re-election. So.
I don't have the bandwidth.
Right.
Okay, so, for those of you that have seen some of the pictures before, you'll get a feeling for this. You guys ever see any of the pictures? I'll show you more in depth when this is over, but our thought was, more pictures, less words, maybe some pictures with some bullet points. So we had our library reimagined, maybe as the front, and, so that first page, we would have what I call the library plaza look, right? And it's what our new library can look like. And I'll spend some time with you guys right after the meeting so you have a feel for it, and I'll send you the documents.
Okay.
And then we thought as that goes, we'd open it up and you could get the aerial view for what that would look like. So our new building. So again, not just a square shoebox of brick, but some indoor and outdoor spaces as we go through that. Then we wanted to be able to show them the old library, right, with the new addition behind it. Then we wanted to have some floor plans because there are those floor plans go either way. Either you can understand them and you love them and you look at them and see what's going on, or it's like next. So we wanted to get some floor plans in there for folks so they could see the new footprint and how things were going. And then we wanted to pop some other things like the children's area. And I'm sorry, all the pictures would be the same, but we have kind of a mock-up of what the new children's area could look like. For those of you that have not seen the earlier things, that we're looking for an indoor-outdoor space in the children's area, but the outdoor space would be contained within, brick walls, like 1-story high brick walls, so they're not escaping. As that goes through. And then we would show, the next picture would be the shot of what the new inside could look like. And that's where we started going crazy, because when we look at things, we can see, if you've worked on this project long enough, you can see what's happening. We want to still have that old brick facade, that's under the atrium now. See it, lookable. I don't think that shows well in these pictures. What we want to show them is what the new look looks like, what some of the furniture and some of the other things are. And what we've asked them to do is readjust some of the pictures that they sent us with a mix of furniture, so that we don't have to have 4 different shots, right? But it would be a mix of furniture where you could see some comfortable casual sitting, so that you can see maybe some work tables, some group areas, but still get the idea of the up and down of the library, because we really have a much larger second floor that goes through. I think those were the pictures that we were working on.
And also there was somewhat of a focus to show the technology portion too.
Right.
That would be intermixed with
So we, in the middle of the meeting, please always bring your computers to those meetings. In the middle of the meeting, we started going out and looking at a couple of pictures and the way some other libraries have done things and what have you. We would also have a page with, some funding information on it, but also, as we said, the links to get through into the different areas. We're trying to figure out the size. At one point, I thought that it was going to be, like this size. Now maybe it'll be this size. We're not quite sure. It depends on how much detail we put in the pictures and what we need to put through from that end. So, this project, very important. So even though we have a committee, if you're not on that facility committee from our committee reports, and I forgot to pass those out, I have tentative reports. When we hold a meeting like this, we really want input from the whole board. So if you can make it, it doesn't matter if you didn't have a little check mark next to your name on that. If you can make it, please come, share ideas, help out, figure out whatever's going on from that end. Anna?
Well, you did answer part of my question. It was going to be what the size of this lookbook. But wasn't there a sample lookbook at one point?
There was, we didn't really like it. I thought it was too wordy.
No, I know, I'm not talking
Oh, you
about
mean
the
what
word,
they-
the
what they-
size thing, the size of it. I mean, I'm just asking what the size of the original lookbook was. That's all. I mean, wasn't it just
Like, I
like,
don't remember, I never had a physical copy of the original lookbook. We got a PDF form of a sample lookbook from somebody else. Is that what you're talking about?
Hmm,
Yeah, I don't, I'd have to go back and look. I don't know what that size is.
a 5x7. But,
Was it 5x7 flip?
yeah. So, it was like this big.
Yeah, so that's why I was thinking.
Yeah.
The thought is, if it gets too big, it's too hard to carry around. If it's smaller, it's something that you can, pull out of a bag or backpack or something like that. It's also a little bit smaller, so it sticks out right away. 'Cause I don't know if you noticed, but I carry a lot of paper and it's all 8.5 by 11 somehow or another as that goes through. So, those were the things. Still yet to be determined to get those figures. We want to put some bullet points in under some of the pictures to call out things. And then, as we said, it was just getting too crazy to cover everything in a lookbook. So we were gonna give links to the website and stuff where we could really delve in and give much more of the information, yeah?
So didn't we put a tagline on this, like, the reimagined, what was it?
We did, and at our last meeting, we decided that the top would say, our library reimagined.
So shouldn't, as we build this lookbook, shouldn't the focus be more on what the reimagined things are? I mean, not just the physical space, but the inside, and
Right, and that's why we were talking about trying to emphasize the technology and some of the other things that are there. Not done yet.
all right, but Maureen, can I ask you that next time you have a meeting, if you have such a small number of attendants that you try to get another date? I mean, I would have been there, but can't be in two places at the same time. I mean, I think it was, you probably only
Well-
had 4 people, right?
Certainly, Anna, although I do think 2 or 3 dates were discussed.
No, I know, but
So one of the things that I'll say is, yes, it's great when we have these meetings, and that's why I offer it out to everyone, even if it's not your official committee. Please join us. We do invite everybody. I know that in July and August, we were having problems scheduling meetings because fund development wanted to meet, investment wanted to meet. We had the grant committee meetings going on once a week. We have other programs that are going on in the library. So that's part of the problem is we don't have a lot of meeting rooms. So when we try to get a group of people together to meet, the first thing that we have to do is reach out and see what kind of rooms are available. And then, go back from there. So, yeah, it's a good point. It's nice to have more people there, but you can't not have a meeting because you can't have 10 people at the table. Unless it's the board meeting, these are committee meetings.
can I ask a question?
Yes.
What's the status of the engineering leads?
So, I'll go through, Maureen, I'll talk and you can correct me.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
So the question was, what was the status of the engineering? So I'll just go back a little bit. This summer, we did like a full court press with Sonia Richmond, who works with the town for finding grants. And we were working on a Connecticut State Library grant. And we met every week in the summer. Our board doesn't normally meet in the summer, but all of a sudden we're meeting every week in the summer to try and meet these grant requirements. We made a lot of very good progress. Sonia was nice to work with, and the people that came to the meetings on a regular basis did an awful lot of work to try and pull together all of the information that we needed to do that. The crux of the matter was, at the very end, as we were getting ready, there was a deadline for filing and having the town manager and town sign off on the fact that we were filing for this grant. We needed an engineering study on the building. The last study that was done on this building was 40 years old. Didn't matter how we sweet talk the fact that the original part of the building was gonna stay and we were gonna raise the rest of it. For some reason, you know, a 40-year-old study was not good when it came to architectural structure. Pauline was networking and we thought that we had the in, we thought that we had some, we had asked in the town, and there's nobody in the town that's certified to do a structural engineering study. So that was the first place that we went. Pauline did some networking, and we had hoped to run out or reach out to some folks at UConn to go ahead and do that. And I don't know if you've heard back from them. There seemed to be a little bit of confusion because I think by the time it got to the professor in charge of the engineering students, I think he thought that we were offering like an internship for the students so they could watch us do it, but we really wanted them to do it for no charge for us. So however that went through, and I don't know if that's going back and forth.
But the problem is they don't have, what we need is a structural engineer, and they don't have that type of, they've got, electrical engineering, but they don't
Civil,
have
yeah.
the structural engineering part of it, and that's the problem. There are professors who are structural engineering, so the student would have to do the study, but everything that the student did would have to be signed off on by a professor who has that degree.
And we looked at, and it could still be an option for us, we looked at contracting with a structural engineer and paying for that, whether it's through our funds or town funds, or trying to figure out how to pay for that so that we could get the grant. But the timing that we had, we couldn't get somebody to come in to do and complete the study, because you know what you do when you do this every day? It's a 3 or 4 day process to go through, make your notes, write up your notes, and, you know, publish them and get them to us. So we were just running out of time in the calendar because it all had to be done by August 30th. And then we had to have our final things done by September 30th.
And just a question for Maureen, why was that? Is there a reason why this was identified so late in the process of preparing for the grant? Because you started early enough.
We started in June.
And did you not?
It wasn't identified late. We thought that because the building they're talking about is our original library, you know, the facade, so to speak.
Yeah.
And nothing is going to be done in that part of the library structurally when we renovate, that we didn't need to have that report, or we asked for, you know, to be able to submit it later. The state library was being very sticky about it. So at the time that we approached them, we thought that they were going to cut us some slack. Obviously, they didn't. And then the whole, as Diane just explained, the whole process of hiring somebody, having them.
I get that part of it, okay.
Yeah, so I mean, it was time consuming, and also it would have cost us $5,000–6,000. To apply for a grant, it would cost us money.
There were several people that read it who have that back, they aren't certified, but have the background, and they actually read it differently than what the state was requiring. So it was very confusing, the two different ways.
Right. So
But the point is that
We started
our
in June.
friend at the state library had the final say.
Right.
And
her
she
final
said,
say
no.
was the existing, and I can understand that, the existing structural analysis is 40 years old. So even though we said you know, we're not changing that part of the library, we're not changing the load, we're not really doing anything different.
Right.
So that came back was like, yeah, but it's 40 years old. And so we tried to go back and forth. We reached out to the architectural firm that we've been working with. We reached out to, you know, a couple of different people and say, you know, how can we go through this? And when it came right down to it, it was really just the timing of it. When can you get it done? Because we're so early, we don't have our finalized plans. There's no way you can build this or get approval to build it without a structural engineering analysis. And the state library, wouldn't take that knowing that it would have to be redone before you know, stuck the shovel in the ground kind of thing. And then see if it's a change it is. So for the grant, it had to be done. One of the things about the grant is that you apply for the grant now, they award the grant to different people, but it's based on the criteria of how much you have done. Do you have these policies in place? Do you have, I think this policy is for a different grant though. But, you know, what did we have, in place? So we spent the summer pulling together all of that information. So we have a lot of that information in there. But they just wouldn't stretch that one regard.
We haven't lost anything, all that effort. Still put together an almost complete application.
Right.
We're way too early to submit it anyway. You get $2 million. You're gonna have a worthy project, you get $2 million. It's pretty simple, actually. They make you jump through hoops, but you still get the $2 million. You can get it well in advance of your project, you can get it when you've commenced, you can get it in the middle of the project, you can get it almost at the end of the project. All depends when you go in this. So we haven't lost anything by all the effort that people put in when the time is right. And when we feel like spending the money and we know that we're really going forward, then we'll make our application and we'll get our $2 million.
And that's a very good point, Andy. And I would say that our application, with the exception of that structural report, and putting a few finishing touches on it, was totally ready to be submitted. You know, the group worked very hard. A better word would be efficiently. And all the information was in place. Sonia was a great facilitator. She had a great understanding of what needed to be done. So if we were to apply for it next month and had that engineering report, that application would be complete.
Right.
From what
So one
I,
of the
you know.
things- Yeah, one of the things about the application is that you apply for it, and when you're granted it, then you have so many years to start your building and then complete your building. And then they give you the grant, right? So it's not like you can get the grant for the $2 million in 2024 and do your building in 2032, and the grant is still there, right? So they had some, you know, contingency, so we might be better off having it delayed 1 year or what have you.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask. So should we look into contracting engineer ahead of next year's application?
So at the time that we, yes, at the time that we disbanded or, you know, put it on hold, we were up in the air with where we might get a structural engineer. You know, if we could get it from UConn, what semester would we have people, would we have professors and stuff like that? So we were trying to ask a free structural engineer if they could use it as a learning project or what have you. Anna?
Isn't there a window on the application, like you can only between?
Yes, so in June, you have to tell them that you want to do it. You have to have all your preliminary paperwork submitted and signed off on by the town. So we'd even met the new town manager. That was another thing. He had been an employee of the town for a month and a half, I think, when we met with him, but we wanted to bring him in, show him what was going on, tell him what was happening, because you know, when you're a new manager, you can't just have a committee come in and say, sign this, do it tomorrow. So he said he was going to approach town council and just go through and say, so, you know, the library's doing this, you know, this is happening, what have you. And then we called them and told them that due to that structural engineer thing, we would not be able to complete the application process this year. It would be next year.
They notify you, usually in the spring, because you have to attend a workshop, mandatory workshops. And then, you decide if you want to apply, then you have to notify them your intent to apply. And then you have up until end of August to get it in. The initial part of it.
Can I just ask again, so if we are thinking of doing it next year and we know that this is the one piece sort of that we're missing. I understand wanting to potentially have students, but I mean, in the grand scheme of the grant and also the building, $5,000 isn't really that much. Do you think it's worth just hiring somebody to do it?
Didn't I hear that it would have to be done again at some point during the building process?
I thought it had to be within a certain number
The
of years.
smart way to do it is when we have a real project.
Right.
When we have a real project with real budget, real architect, engineers, you get all your professionals on board. Then you know you can answer any question they're gonna have. You can point to, this is how it's gonna be, this is part that's gonna be reused. This is the part that isn't. When we reuse this, we're gonna have to bolster this up, whatever it is. We're a long way from that happening. And if we miss 2024, we can do it in 2025.
Right, I do think though, having funding locked in, like a grant from the state, would be helpful when we are approaching the town to help pay.
Very much so. But remember, it doesn't reduce the amount of the referendum.
Right, but I think that it shows that we've done some of our own work to secure funding.
Right, so think of it with Anna Reynolds or John Walls. So they're gonna, Anna Reynolds says this is a $30 million project, but we anticipate this much reimbursement from the state. So it's actually gonna end up costing the taxpayers 17 million. We'll be in the same position. We'll say we got 45 million, but we anticipate $2 million grant from the state, so the net cost will
Oh,
actually.
so you're
be
saying
43 million.
we anticipate, right, okay, that makes sense, yeah.
Which is the acceptable language, when you send out a referendum document.
Sure, okay.
And, you know, points well taken, Andy. I think, and also to Fiona's points, that what we should strive for, knowing what we know today, what we didn't know a month ago, perhaps, is let's shoot for 2024. Not just for the grant, but to have a different kind of expansion or a completed expansion plan in place. Because the more we put it off, the older we get.
Yeah, the big issue we're facing with this lookbook is that we're not forcing it through the lens of the voter. This should be approached not from what we need or what we want. It should be what the voter needs to see to agree it's worth their property taxes going up $200 a year. And we don't have that right now. With the views that we have, I don't know how you convince anybody your taxes should go up $200 for the average house in Connecticut, in Newington. We need more pizzazz. We need those things that somebody would vote for.
I think one of the problems with local we noticed was that the pictures they included, they're more like generic pictures. They're not really specifically what the library is gonna look like. And
Yes, to your point, we wanted to customize it more, show more of the technology that we expect to have around there and have that look. So they built a 2-story building and they showed us what it could be, but very generic.
Yeah.
A lookbook is never gonna be what you walk into on opening day of the new library. So it's conceptual, it's not the final. To both of your points, pizzazz counts, right? How do you generate interest? How do you get that
I
going?
want to see, if I'm a voter, I want to see something, I want to see lots of things in the reimagined library that don't exist today. Because we have a fine library now. Why would I go and raise my taxes $200 a year when I already have a great library? We got to show them what they're going to have new, different, better, that makes that investment worthwhile.
And you have to also show, what's in it for me, kind of,
Exactly.
The program.
That's the only thing that matters.
Then, if someone's looking at it and they see, oh, you're gonna have this at the library now? Or you're gonna have this at the, have this at the library, I mean, that might pique someone's more interest of, well, okay, now I see why, that's something I always wanted there.
So guys, be prepared. What did you always want in the library?
Well, go to the other libraries and look and see what they did.
I gave you
Like I
a
did.
list, 2 years ago, I gave you a list of 30 things. And frankly, and I've paraded all of you over and over again in emails. You gotta have the courage to put those things in, and for you to say, I don't wanna do it, is wrong, it's wrong-headed. We should be putting in everything that we can think of. And have it really be the library of the future.
Okay. Any other questions or thoughts at this point? For facility insight? We always get sidetracked on these things. This is why committee meetings are important. The more people that can get there, the more this meeting can be an update. Fund development, Anna.
Hi, yes, so Fiona and I are gonna kind of work through this together. First thing we're gonna focus on is the capital council. And thank you to everybody who came to the fund development meeting. We worked through this together. Fiona was great on shortening up the language, although Lisa has the longer language that I started with. Thank you to Pauline to coming up with the director's choice. And then when I talked to Chris over the phone, he said, what about professional development? And so we ended up adding that category in, and I talked to Lisa and we rearranged some of the dollar amounts a little bit. So this is our 9 innovative items, and and part of this is part of the transition with me stepping back from being the coordinator for the 5K race, coming up with something new. I've been chair of fund development for a bunch of years, and the last couple of years, I haven't done a whole lot with this, so I'm really excited about this. Lisa's creating a new webpage for the Capital Council program, and I'm going to be sending an email out to last year's 5K sponsors, telling them about the transition to somebody new. I don't know who that is yet, but anyway, just letting them know. But then I'm gonna follow up with a phone call and offer them a sneak peek, because some of the sponsors that we, in my opinion, could probably do a little bit more if they were invited, or if they saw one of these things, because I think, having target specific items will generate more interest. So we're gonna start there. We're going to announce it at the Hanel event on December 2nd, along with the Ways to Give program. And we have some great connections through Michelle Breuer, who's our community liaison from the library with the chamber, and we'll get the word out there. But honestly, anyone could say, hey, I want to support this, including Neil. Neil at the meeting, Neil was the first person to say, I can be the adult program supporter. And so he's already pledged that. And
Thank you, Neil.
Now, we can have more than one.
And we can have more than one. I'm not gonna say no. And what's the beauty
Well, I
of
guess
this
that's
is,
the question, for the capital council,
well, the
we do
beauty,
have more than one person per year on these.
yeah, well, the beauty of this is that Leanne is going to set up, when she does the accounting, she is going to set up specific line items as the money comes in for each of those, and that the money that's being given is going to be dedicated to.
It'll be a restricted one.
It'll be a restricted fund. It's going to be dedicated. So any money that goes in there, if we have 2 and they don't use it right, use it up within a year, well, that's all right. You're just going to have it for future use. And, but this is going to be an annual program, and I'm really very excited about this. So,
I just had a question on
Sure.
that. If you have like more than one person or one company or whatever sponsoring, say, Director's Choice or one of these other programs. How are you going to decide, I guess, how their logos are going to be displayed? Because I don't, are they gonna be okay, multiple companies, the same, logo on the same thing, or do they want to be the sole one, or?
that's a good question. This is an evolving program. In working with the 5K sponsors for a dozen years, up until last year, we never had a problem.
Yeah, and that was what was kind of coming into my head when I remember that story that you guys were telling me, so.
I think too, also, for a lot of these, they're broad enough that we could do multiple programming. If you have more than one donor. The only one that maybe we would have a hard time is the hotspot. But
Yeah.
that's an annual amount, so technically we could, say. Come back next year. I mean, I don't know how we would do that, but. I think definitely a lot of these are broad enough that we could have multiple supporters or donors.
I was just thinking more of how you would recognize
Right.
the supporters and everything, and, be
I
able
wonder
to
if
put
you
their.
would choose like to, depending on the program you did or the service that they're paying for, because like even Director's Choice could end up being a service,
Yeah.
you don't know, but you could alternate maybe if you
Yeah,
had
yeah.
two or something, they would be the sponsor of this
This
program.
one and then
The next one would
yeah.
be somebody different.
I imagine if we had 4 people step in for professional development.
Oh, or.
I mean, $2,000, for a staff of 30 isn't gonna really go very far, but.
But that's exactly the type of thing that gets cut from the town budget when you're looking to cut things, is travel and, some courses and stuff.
Yeah, Lisa shared the line item for professional development for the entire staff is $800 for the year.
Doesn't even cover the memberships.
We have memberships for certain staff, and then that's separate, but then, for the 30 plus people that want to do professional development, we have $800.
Yeah, so, if there. Do we need to vote on this? No.
Well, are we offering it? I mean, that's a change, right? So I would think that we would have to vote that we're in
Okay,
agreement to offer this.
so, are there any more questions on this? Okay, so I'll make a motion that, the legacy.
Hold on, I had a question. So
Okay.
it's okay to have more than one, or let's start with this as a question to me. We can have more than one, or
Except for the hotspot donor.
And again, it's an annual thing, so we could always kind of reevaluate next year to see how we have, more than one and how that goes.
And I think with regard to logo and stuff, when the person that's representing the company, we say this is how we normally handle it. So, we work with the company as to logo and what they're.
Well, we're in Neil's case, he's just giving it, I was approached by somebody before that wanted to give a donation, but didn't know exactly what. They wanted to put a tree, maybe, in memory of someone, and I said, okay, but just know that there's construction going on, so wherever you put it, it might, it might not make it, past construction phase, whether construction happens in 2 years or 7 years or whatever. And if we had something like this, I could have pulled it out and said, but we do have, capital council, if they wanted to support that, we could put their name under it. For years.
Right now, until all the slots are filled, we can make the suggestion, well, the adult program supporters already been spoken for, would you consider the teen or the children's, because that would be the same amount. And, we'll just work through it and see what happens.
Great.
Okay. So, I'd like to make a motion to, grant the Legacy Society through Fund Development to initiate a program called the Lucy's Capital Council, to, be promoted starting now and to be reevaluated, a year from now, right?
I'll second. Pauline seconds. Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the work. I was at that meeting. It was, I thought it was very dynamic. I mean, you put a lot of work into it in the beginning and Fiona both, but it was very dynamic and, worked out well. We got Neil the chickens. That's how good it was.
So the next part of, what we are proposing to do, you may recall that we initiated something called the Library Champions. It's renamed, it started off being called Legacy Champions, but now it's Library Champions. And then, during our meetings, Fiona came up with this idea of a giving day. So we ended up kind of incorporating a number of things, and this actually will segue into the broader picture of the expansion. I sent out the information about constant contact and the pricing and everything. So the idea is for us to basically toot our own horn. We have an email distribution list, which is made up of our 5K runners, the people who contributed to Ready, Set, Go, people who have donated money through our online campaign. All the trustees are included on that list. And there's one other category, but it comes up to about 480 names. And if we went with an email service, some of those names would get kicked out, but the idea would be to collect more names, like at the Hanel concert, have iPads around for people to, sign up to get news from the Board of Trustees for the expansion and what's going on here. This is separate from what Lisa does, because, if we recall when we were talking about, getting ourselves organized for an expansion, we cannot, as the board, we cannot use library resources. We need our own resources. So this would be a stepping stone for that. So thanks to Lisa, some of the information on this page is no longer accurate. Lisa got information that there's something called TechSoup, and we sign up with TechSoup, and TechSoup is free.
How do you spell
TechSoup? TECHSOUP.
And TechSoup does do website domains and email services, and you can't get any cheaper than what they offer. A domain name with TechSoup is, the first year would be $9.89, and then after that would be $13.89, compared to GoDaddy, which is $9.99, and then $22.99, which is on the report that I gave you.
So it wouldn't be trustees at Newington Library. Yeah, TechSoup dot.
No,
Because it's
TechSoup
actually,
wouldn't be mentioned.
TechSoup is just it's a company that works with nonprofits and it sells their.
So it's like GoDaddy.
yeah, it's like GoDaddy.
and they offer a discount to Constant Contact.
That was the other thing.
Sorry, I just.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of moving parts here. So Constant Contact, the pricing for Constant Contact is in the chart up above. Going through TechSoup, and we have to pay like, what did I say? $56, one-time charge. But then we have TechSoup links us to Constant Contact, and then on a monthly basis, we get 50% off. So that 50% discount is much better than any 20-30% that Constant Contact offers the nonprofits. So, and because I think that we will very quickly get over the 500 number, once we get to 501 emails, it puts us into a different category. So if we went with text, so we would end up paying $330 for 12 months of constant contact, as opposed to $660 without any discount at all. And but going through TechSoup, we were committed, right?
For a year.
We're committed for a year to try to do this. So between, and what we liked about Constant Contact, which is on the list, is that both Fiona and I could have login access. So I could set something up, she can go in and tweak, we're both working off the same,
There's transparency.
yeah,
It's not just one login. It would-
Yeah,
we would have
and-
these three, I think there's three three logins. For
We
that.
actually, we did use Constant Contact years ago here, and it was really, you could do a lot with it,
yeah.
which is really nice.
You know, and it, you know, it's a start. And, you know, I don't know how the friends would feel about sharing email addresses with us, but you know, that could be a whole other conversation. There you go. And the whole idea of this premise of this giving day proposal kind of tied into the one that's run in April of every year, which we don't want to do because of the 5K race. There's too much going on at that time. You know, the other idea is to work, you know, the focus at the end of the year, but we don't want to tie in with Giving Tuesday because everybody donates Giving Tuesday. Ideally, it would be nice to be ahead of Giving Tuesday. You know, but we can work out those logistics once we decide if this is an approach that we want to take. But if we want to expand what is coming into the library, to have those, to secure those recurring donors, those monthly donors, we've got to start somewhere. We've got to give it a try.
We need to be able to be in contact with them through, and the thing about Constant Contact that they do is they send out, they have templates that you can use that are much more dynamic. So this is like, I mean, this is a very, I did this using an easy, cheap Canva like that, you know. And, but like with Constant Contact, the emails would be much more dynamic and we wouldn't have to spend a lot of time building them. They have templates that you can use. And we could make contact with donors, past donors, potential donors, voters in the future for the referendum, and build up our own email contact list and have it organized in a way that would update it if, you know, the email address is no longer available, you know, like rather than us having to do that ourselves.
It does the cleanup automatically, you know, we don't have to.
So do we know if newingtonlibrary.trustees@gmail.com is available?
It is. Oh, no, so, no, so what we would do is we would just go with, if you look on the handout on the, under Give Day, we would go with at newingtonlibrary.org. That would be, no, on this. newingtonlibrary.org would be the domain name. And then once we got that, then we could set up an email account that says trustees@newingtonlibrary.org.
Emails.
And we could have multiple emails.
Look, it's 2023. This is the way business gets done. Now, we're $1 million organization
So,
with an operating budget. What's the library's operating budget? 3 million?
No.
but this isn't for staff, this is for the board.
I know that, but I'm saying we are a face of a large organization. We're trying to raise money. We're looking to the future. $600 for whatever this, $462 a year, cost of doing business, and make a motion we approve and move forward with it. We'll get to the URL in a second. But as far as Constant Contact, I see no reason not to do it.
So is this just a way to get like an email out to multiple people on the
Right.
distribution list at the same time? That was what I was trying to understand, because I saw like 3 users, like, well, then how many emails can we have apparently?
No, but I think one thing, you know, you can
Three
have
districts.
3 administrators that can go in, I don't know
For
how many email
transparency.
addresses we want or
Okay.
how definitive you want it to get, but think about the management of it. Because we've got 2 people that are gonna manage it, you guys, right? And how easy is it if it has to be transitioned to somebody else or someone else, I just think we shouldn't have 16 email addresses, you know, as we start.
I mean, to start off with one, we're the trustees, and that we want to put our face forward, our name forward to make that distinction to people. I mean, you know, the sponsors before, you know, before this, they were getting emails from my personal email account. That's
Right. And so that's lovely. The second thing is that once that email is out there, it needs to be monitored and watched, because if somebody comes through and says, hey, trustees at Newington Library, I got something I want you to take action on. It has nothing to do with Legacy Society or donations or anything else. So we probably don't want 5 email addresses.
No, actually, you may have dozens, because think of it like Hewlett Packard has a promotion out, right? Click on here, and it takes you right to whatever they're selling at the moment. You know, this laptop or that desktop or whatever. 6 weeks from now, that doesn't exist anymore. You know, they got a campaign, they're trying to raise money, awareness, whatever it is. Boom, drive the traffic right to there, so you don't have to go through a generic trustees. It's the specific thing that we want people to focus on right now.
But you're,
And then after so many weeks and months, whatever,
but you're,
you close it down.
I think you're mixing apples and oranges. The trustees account is going to be a viable email address.
Forever, right?
When you send emails from constant contact, it has to have a valid email address. That's going to be in place. All that other stuff, where the QR codes and everything, that's going to be in the document and change.
And we'll talk about that in the URL.
Yes.
Right.
Right. And when we do.
I'm just saying to
those kinds of things,
Diane,
we can lock
You
it
may
in.
have multiple emails that we as a board use over the years.
Like if we end up using this management system to reach out to voters, that email address might be different. Because
Correct.
it's a different, it's not fund development, it's vote, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah, this was sign up to emails, we were talking about the Hano, right, getting people to give us. At Dave Matthews concerts, they give you a little freebie if you give them your email address, which everybody gets, because they want the freebies. If you offer them something, if you sign up tonight, we'll give you this, I mean, March, yeah.
So, that part of it, you know, leading up to December 2nd, we have not worked out those details yet. But, we will get there. So
So we got a motion on the
what
table
was the motion, Andy?
to,
We just need $500.
yeah, you get $500 for constant contact.
The-
allocate
all the
$500.
components for the.
To set up an account.
Just to set up.
Yeah.
An email,
501 plus emails, $462 a year.
Oh,
no,
okay, so say
300.
No, I'd say 500, I'm just reading.
501 plus, so
Right.
more than 500
Right.
plus, yes.
We get a second?
So what,
Well, second.
Thank you.
any other questions?
Well, I think when you were looking at the numbers there, and I think they mentioned with the tech soup that it might be even more of a discount than what's on the state.
Right. Yeah, which is fine.
Yeah.
We don't have to do this like we're submitting an invoice, we wanna not to exceed amount, right?
Yeah.
So if we approve this up to $600, are we
Yeah.
comfortable with buying this service for $600?
I amend my motion to 600.
And that's just, I'm always comfortable if we have a little bit of budget room, because whatever, whatever happens by the time we get there.
So there's a motion on the floor, and then second?
Christine seconded.
I know, I, there is a second.
Yeah. Any questions? Any further discussion? No? All those in favor of spending up to $600 on a constant contact type service? Say aye. Anyone opposed?
Thank
Motion
you.
carries. Thank you.
Motion number 2. I move that we establish a URL with a trustworthy company. Whether that's TechSoup or GoDaddy or whatever. And the amount evades me a little bit, and I will tell you why. So it's very inexpensive to get an ORG .org. Unfortunately, I had GoDaddy URLs for years. And once you have a URL, you then have to protect yourself against all the impersonators. So we could have trustees at Newington, or just
It was Newington Library.
NewingtonLibrary.org could be us. And we're trying to raise money. And we want people to contact us and they can, press a button and they can give. Yeah. Somebody is going to come along from Moldova or Romania or somewhere, and it's set up the exact same thing, only it's going to be .com or .co or .net. And they'll get people to go in there and give them money, thinking they're giving it to us. So the unfortunate truth is, we have to take them all. We've got to buy not only .org, but .store, .com, .tech, .net, .co. We can't buy .edu or .gov because we're prohibited. So it's not just $10 a month. We're probably, or $10 a year. We're probably in for $100 a year, or whatever that all comes to. Now, I used to buy 3 years at a time for a 50% discount.
Yep.
And so I am making a motion that we allocate the necessary funding based on whatever these guys come up with for the best deal, not to exceed $1,000. It probably will be
Not
$200.
to exceed $1,000 per.
No, for the whole kit and caboodle, if 3 years is the best deal for all 6 domains. Yeah, I just don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know TechSoup, but there's no reason not to do it.
Right.
Right.
I know what he's
So
saying. I
what-
hadn't even, the thought
I
had
know.
evaded me.
No, it's a very good point, very good thought. We need to put parameters around it, so, or else we need to do more research and come back with a specific thing. So I think if we can take the not to exceed amount of money to get as many of the URLs as we can get, the .coms, the .nets, et cetera.
Yeah, I've got domain.com. Want to add with me here? 12, 14, 24, 30, 45, $47
A year.
per year. But I don't know what the hidden fees are in there.
So on,
If
so
there's any
on
one time-
TechSoup, we can get it through TechSoup for $13.89 a year. for
Can you get all
the
6 of them?
I can go and look and.
But some are a little more, some are a lot less.
Right. But I'm looking at 40, if we didn't get that 10,
Okay, so I'm looking for an amount, so we can say not to exceed amount to go.
300. It's my motion.
Yeah,
$300.
but I don't wanna do $300 if it's gonna cost us $500 because there's, 8 of them.
Let's do 500.
500.
Yeah.
I amend my motion.
just to give you a benchmark, and so with TechSoup, a domain name after the first year is $14 a year.
After the first year.
Yes,
Okay.
right. So I'm just using $14 as a high figure. If I do that times 3, that's $42. If there are 6 domain names to buy,
It's 80.
that's $252. Right?
What is it?
42
per. It, $14.
14 times 6 is 84.
If I'm doing one name times 3 years,
Oh, okay.
$42.
Oh,
Okay, $42 times 6 domain names is $252, and that's not even figuring out if there's.
I just don't know if they have a setup fee or anything else that once you actually get in to do it,
Mhm,
it costs you more
okay,
than you thought it was going to be.
okay,
So I would agree with Fiona. Guard yourself so we don't have to have this discussion again
yeah,
and let the smart people figure this out and go with the best deal.
okay.
So that motion is?
We allocate $500 to set up a domain name and purchase all the other domain names that could be used to protect us.
And I should ask this question, is everybody comfortable with using Newington Library? that board as our primary name. I think you can ask that, I'm just making an exception.
I think that is how we are best known. And I think once you get into the URL and what they can talk about the trustees and they can show the
And
Lucy
Lucy
Robbins
Robbins Wells.
library name. But I think if we were just out there as Lucy Robbins Wells Library, not only is it a long name, just look at the back of your t-shirt, but how many people, even if you grew up here and went to school here forever, how many people said, Mom, I'm going to Lucy Robbins Wells, board members don't count. I'm going to Lucy Robbins Wells Library to study, or I'm going to the Newington Library to study. Right.
Sorry, I just have one question about that. I'm just thinking about that though, like, if we're thinking about like. Does that, if you got an email from that, would you think that was someone spoofing the library? Because they're saying Newington Library, they don't know that the name of the library is Lucy Robbins Wells Library.
Well, and should we say Newington Connecticut Library?
But do you know what I mean? I don't, it sounds kind of like they're. I hear you, but like, I feel like they might get that and be like, wait, why is it saying Newington Library when
If
it's?
we use the initials, nobody's gonna know the initials either.
If we did LRW Library,
Yeah, Newington.
.org.
No, they won't necessarily know.
No, they, I think you're gonna be stuck with Newington Library.
Or Newington Connecticut Library, there's a lot of Newingtons out there.
Yeah.
There's Newington overseas in England.
I think
I get that.
people will think of
Where we
Newington
come
Library
from.
before they. think
Can we do,
Lucy.
Yeah, they don't even use euros.
can we say public library, Newington Public Library? Or no?
But there's like, there's a Newington, New Hampshire as a public library, and
Yeah.
Google search that comes up sometimes.
I mean, can we maybe decide
So-
the name?
Yeah, let's vote on the monies.
Okay,
So it was up to 500 to set up the URLs that we need. And then we would just ask that before you actually set it up, that maybe,
yeah,
come out with the name.
yeah,
Are people comfortable with that?
looks like Andy's doing a little research right now.
Untrue.
He's left you behind. He's made his motion. He's just
Okay.
waiting now. Okay. All
Thank
those, so no further questions at this point?
Who's second?
All those, in Chris has
second.
seconded.
Okay.
That's how you're.
Seconded is the amended it.
Okay.
All right. All those in favor?
Right.
Any opposed? Okay. Whew, thank you.
All right.
Some days it's harder than others,
Oh,
right?
last time, okay, so we're last one, so the brochure that you should all. Oh, so this was sort of born from trying to have like an umbrella for all of the ways to give to the library. Which is connected to the Give Day, basically saying any way that you can give financially, of course. Here's how here are the different ways. I don't know if I'm being clear, but, and like I said, I just put this together, pretty cheaply. And, but I do think that we will use this sort of as the umbrella for all the ways of giving. I think you mentioned that, Lisa's changing the website around, the order of access points, like once you get to the website to find how you can give. And the idea would be that this would be available at the Hanel event. And then maybe have some of the library leftovers or whatever.
It would be great if we had our URL by now.
Yeah, yes.
Or did we just put the Newington Library?
Well, I have the Newington Library and there's the QR code that Lisa made,
Okay.
using their
And it
QR.
goes to the ways to give page.
That goes to the ways to give page
So
and
that'll work.
then the back is the mission statement. And then I just took the images from the library website. So a lot of this language is already from the website. The thing that would change is the library champions panel at the bottom. That graphic just needs to be changed to library champions, but that's just a screenshot. So that's why it says like the same champions.
This is the actual QR code?
Yes.
Yeah.
If you-
Did you put the little dinosaur in there?
No, they did, and I tested it like 5
Yeah,
times because I thought that it was.
I know, usually that looks weird, like, If you scan it, it'll bring you to the gift page.
I love it.
We printed.
It's just, I printed it on an art printer and you have to have margins.
Okay.
So if you give it to a printer,
They'll do it.
They'll take the
yeah,
margins out.
yeah, yeah.
Kids.
It was, I mean, we can order.
Does this work?
So what they're saying is when we send this to, printer, when we ship the trifold, it will line up properly because we won't have to have
Right,
that.
we just, yeah, definitely.
Did you have a choice of a dinosaur or did that just?
That was just what came up. And I thought it was fake.
I was wondering, because it'd be interesting to have an open book instead.
It didn't give me that option.
Maybe we could have a dinosaur reading a book.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make a motion to have these professionally printed for the annual event on December 2nd. If we did 200 copies, that would be $140. And then 200 copies, I think, would be plenty for the annual, and then also left over to have at the library or for other events as well. And kind of see where we go from there.
Did you have an ask if it was more than 500 copies?
No, I can.
Yeah, because the unit price is pretty high
Yeah,
at 200.
okay.
I can ask.
We have a lot of color in here.
Well, the price of this would be similar to what we pay for the legacy flyers.
And this has all of
It's
them.
it would be the same thing because the
I
legacy.
just would, I'd hate to spend 100 for setup and 100 for the copies.
Right.
If you're gonna spend 100
Legacy
for the
flyers,
setup,
that's
get a lot of
and
copies.
they're colored. You remember how
Not
much?
colored paper, it's got the green, I think it's two coloring. I don't think it's like the blue sky and
With the picture.
Well, the total price is 140. Is that what you're saying? That there's no setup fee?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The total price would be 140 for 200. Because we're providing all the artwork. To him.
But we don't know how much 500 would be.
No, I can ask. I mean, I can't ask now, but I can ask, if it would be cheaper.
So we can,
I'll talk to you tomorrow.
yeah, okay.
Yeah. How's that?
And this picture, we want this picture here, the inside.
I mean, I just took images.
Yeah.
From, and I tried to change it up and make it kind of base, obviously, Anna gave me kind of feedback on which images should go with,
I think it'd be Christopher.
Oh, you can,
Yeah.
what?
this isn't right.
What's that?
No, legacy's planning to be first panel. Lucy is the second.
I thought I was doing the Lucy as the first one because. it's
Okay,
the new
so-
one.
So you guys can figure that out. Let's go to the money.
Yeah.
Let's go to the money. So,
Okay,
Down in the committee.
okay.
Communication.
right,
Okay, so we don't know what the cost of 500 copies would be. We do know that it would be $140 for 200 copies, no setup fee.
so do we say up to?
$400.
What can we get for up to $400?
Right.
Okay. So I will make a motion to get the brochure printing, as many copies as we can for up to.
How about not to exceed 500, because isn't that what we
Because
did?
you wanna have these available when we do the Winterfest.
We wanna have it
Yeah.
available.
Yeah.
Okay,
So not to exceed $500 for an initial printing.
not to exceed $500 for an initial printing.
So we've got Diane in the room to spend money, so quibble.
So not to exceed $500 for the initial printing of the brochure.
Why not? And I've got to say, I like this a lot because it doesn't have a lot of words and it's got the QR code. Oh, this is the wrong one.
Okay, so that's a,
It's the same one.
Second.
so
The QR.
does anybody want to second that up to
I'll
500?
second it.
You designated tonight.
You can be designated.
Who's the designated second?
You're the
Chris.
designated seconder.
Thank you.
So George and
I'll
Christina.
second.
go on this long.
Oh, that's good to meet that.
Thank you.
Names in the minutes.
What's it, Chris?
Right.
Chris.
As long as it's spelled right.
Yeah. Chris with a K, thank you. Melissa's very good with this stuff. So you seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that was not to exceed 500, right?
Right.
Okay.
Woo. And all the other things that go along with the website updating and everything is and going on in the background.
Great. Okay,
Okay.
we good? We got Lucy's Capital and Ways of Giving? Yep, we're good. Okay.
Good.
Nominations, Maureen, I'm gonna speak for you and say we have nothing on nominations at this point.
No,
Uh,
nothing until next September.
June. Communications Committee, Christine and Fiona, anything that we haven't touched upon from tonight? From communications?
The lanyards, I want to talk about that.
Okay, you have the floor.
Okay. So. For the staff appreciation dinner, I was the only person that had a lanyard on. And many of those people I didn't know. And the only way that they would be able to identify me unless somebody introduced me was because of the lanyard. Right? Nobody else had one that was there. And I think it's very important that at every function that we attend, you wear your lanyard. At the Hanel, you're going to be handing out these pamphlets. Any random babe at the door can be handing out. You want to be identified as the person that from the trustees that is handing out that.
Do we have
I think
one?
mine is
Yes,
over.
we have
Yeah,
them.
mine's built in.
I thought I handed mine in.
Okay, well, you should have yours. You're an adult. You can have it in your car and you can bring.
Well,
it.
I'm allowed to keep it?
Yes.
I get it for the race and then I hand it.
No.
Yeah, that's what I did too.
That's what the majority of us did. So Chris is saying.
So I'm saying, as an adult,
You're gonna trust me?
you should be able to have that lanyard, in your purse, in your car, at your home, and wear it to an event which you are responsible
Duly
to
noted.
be at.
I will bring him at the next meeting.
Okay,
And hand them out. And have extras for those people that, you know.
I will do that too.
I just wanted to add a quick thing, or sorry, are you?
thank you for trusting us.
No, but I feel very strongly on that because I organized all that.
Okay.
And they sit in somebody's desk and we go to an event and nobody but me has one on. And I'm like, okay.
Because everybody turned them in.
Yeah, but we
One
forget,
at a time.
we forget to bring them out. We got a process. So this way
I'm like, you know.
it's on us. And it just says Board of Trustee Lucy Robbins Wells. It doesn't have your name on it and stuff, but at
No,
least
no.
that way, if somebody has a question, they can, think of it as your Home Depot vest, they.
Well,
come
as an
find you.
example. At the Handle event that I came to, there was a woman here. My son and I went to have ice cream afterwards. She came over there and she saw me. She said, "Oh, I just want you to know that I really enjoyed that program, blah, 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 blah," and on and on and on. And the only way she could identify me as a trustee is if I had my lanyard on. Otherwise, who am I? I'm another person that was there.
Right, and then the only other thing I want to say is, I also fell down on the, staff appreciation dinner. We had in the past, but we should put name tags on. So that they not only know that we're the Board of Trustees and the employees should wear name tags. Sorry, and we had done that one year because as we're newer, as you move around and you get introduced to somebody, it's like, did you say Jean or Jane? Right? I kind of know them, but I don't really know. So I think for the staff appreciation, we should just have those little stick-on tags, so everybody's got a name. And then for our events, we should use those lanyards.
I have my assignments for the next meeting.
Just a quick add to the communications that I am behind on press releases, but I'm catching up. I'm working on a press release about the annual meeting that will go out, and then also a press release about the Capitol Council that's gonna be sent to newspapers. And then, of course, Hanel promotion as well.
Great.
So hopefully, by next month, I'll have those who either have been, drafted and sent out, obviously Christine and Lisa can look over it as well. Any questions about those?
And I just keep interjecting this. It's a good reminder for those of us that have been on the board for a while. But it's we don't put anything out under the library or the Board of Trustees that we don't run by Lisa or Karen Benner in her absence, just so that we don't put our foot in our mouth. as it goes through, because they're much more involved in the day-to-day business or anything else like that. So, when she references it, she'll run it by, it's good to have your fellow board members run, read it and proof it and stuff, but before it really finally goes out, Lisa or Karen needs to read it, just so that we don't say something wrong, or it's like, no, we don't do that. No, our hours change. No, right? All of that stuff. So we do our best to figure that out. But thank you. Chris. All right. That was communications. Wearing lanyards open. Okay, before we get into old business, I just want to pass around, I should have done this during the activities. This is the committee list. So as you read down the side, you'll see your name. We have the committees that go across. Andy, I think I have 2 sheets from you for a committee list, but I'm not sure because I can't really read the handwriting, but it looks like both signatures are the same. So I think it might be yours, but we'll go through this. And for the new board members, let's take one and pass it around. When I finalize it next month, you'll have what's going on there. But the new folks are definitely on PEP. We'll look at some of the other things to see if you have a particular interest in one group or another. Everybody supports the 5K race in May. And I mean, if you have a wedding or a funeral or a graduation or whatever, you get excused for that here on that day, but try to already put it in your calendars now. For May, it is the Sunday after Mother's Day every year. But we'll go through, look at those lists and get folks in there. Sorry for that. I meant to pass that out before I had the whole staff there. If you don't like where you are, let me know, but my goal is to try to give people their choices, but it's also to make sure that we don't have everything all crowded into one area and not another. So now I'll move into,
Diane,
yes.
I would like to, I mean, it could be part of this or it could be something separate, but I would like to recommend that we designate someone from the board to be the annual meeting coordinator. To make sure that, if we want a speaker or speakers lined up, that the nomination form for recognition goes out in the summertime so that we all can participate, and to help the staff with refreshments or what, things like that. We don't have anybody designated for that role, and I think that would be helpful. But that's my opinion.
Do I have a motion on the table to elect Anna to be the annual meeting coordinator? I don't think that's exactly what she I think it's probably a very good idea, just to have it up there, because I think by the time June comes, we're running around with other things, which is coming off that race, and some of the organizational details get lost.
Diane, we always had somebody from the board coordinate the annual meeting. It was an ad hoc position. It wasn't a standing committee or anything. So,
Okay.
I mean, just FYI, I know when Marie Dowling was amongst us, that was an important, well, she did it and I've done it in the past and others, but it was always done by a board member, whether it was coordinating a decorations, speakers, food, etc. So it has been done.
Okay, so do we want to, at this point, look for a volunteer for next year's annual meeting? And basically, when we have our annual meeting, we sometimes have a speaker, we sometimes don't. We were gearing up to have a fancier annual meeting, and we did it a couple of times with a guest speaker, and then COVID hit, and we had Zoom meetings, so it didn't matter. And we're slowly crawling out of the COVID Zoom routine, where we're having the meetings in person. if we choose to have a guest speaker or not, it would be locating the speaker, figuring out what's happening, proposing the amount to the board. Some guest speakers are free, some charge a fee.
And next year's our 85th anniversary, by the way. Not that I'm not proposing that we go crazy like we did for the 75th, but I'm just making note that
Yeah, we want crazy for the 80th.
80th. But, you know, it's the 85th, so, you know, maybe,
Maybe do it closer to like in the spring. Like, cause
Do you want the annual meeting?
no, just set the person to do it then, like, to see where we're at too. 'Cause
designate a person in the springtime. So
yeah, because I mean, honestly, the summer's hard to reach you sometimes and, you know, to get the work done, so it's better to start it earlier and start planning it, and then you don't have it, you have less to do in the summer. And we would have deadlines when we have to get stuff done. It'd be easier to do it that way.
Okay,
It
so
also,
do we keep it ad hoc? Do we put it on the agenda to elect somebody in February?
I think so.
you can add it
We
to
gotta get
the,
a few more people, yeah.
you can add it to the the activities calendar.
and that might be helpful to then know the process of what it, like, if, you know, to get some more information about those who have planned it in the past, what it looks like, so that the volunteer kind of knows what they need to do.
So, one of the things that you should be thinking about for that would be, are we having a speaker or not? Do we want to have any kind of a rule of thumb every, you know, is it the big years with the zeros? Is it the interim years, you know, with the 85s and stuff? What are we gonna do? Are we gonna have a birthday cake? Are we gonna have a speaker? When we had Gina Baraka, we actually split the business part of the annual meeting and the speaker, celebratory speaker. Well, no, yes.
And we do December.
Yeah, so, on the night of our annual meeting, we usually have a business meeting, which is a really quick. Regular business meeting like we're having tonight, and then we have our annual meeting.
We do it in an hour.
Yes, at the very, least, sometimes 50 minutes, we're lucky. And then we'll have the meeting for the general public, not that they're not welcome to the business meetings, but, the director will give a much more involved, kind of like the library in the past year review. And then we have recognition series for either donors or people that have given exceptional service, to the library, whether it be staff or the general public or whatever. So that's basically what we're talking about for that. Sometimes we have speakers, sometimes we don't. There could be a fee for them, there could not be a fee for them. If there was to be a fee, you would have to get me on a night where I'm spending money. Technically, I'm not the one spending the money, you guys are. As we go through that. So that's a good suggestion. I think that would help us be more organized, and we're at our 85th year. Okay. Reorganization of 5K event.
I have good news, Saputo is definitely in.
Super.
We talked to Josie last week, and they're all on board to be the main sponsor like they were, so that was
Good, because they had committed to that last year,
right.
so
So
it's
that's
nice
nice
to
to
have
have
their
confirmation,
confirming that.
so that's good.
So what, 6,000?
6,000. That's for that. Get the Connor shirt.
So the other part of the reorganization of 5K is the fact that I stepped down as the 5K sponsor coordinator, and somebody needs to, it would be very nice if somebody took on that role.
I will.
Really?
Thank you.
So wait, Fiona, let me give you something first. So let's.
Now-
Let's draft what that means,
Right.
because, the last time there was some. What was said and what was heard were two different things. So
Right.
what does it mean to be that coordinator? What duties are there and how does that line up with the others?
Yes, I need to know all that.
We'll have a conversation. It's not,
Yeah,
it's not
that's great.
a 20.
Okay,
Thank you, Fiona.
that's fine. Fiona, thank you very much. appreciate that. So that's,
And I will ask, are you sure?
I don't know. How long
basically,
did you do it? I might only do it 1 year.
you gotta do it too. You gotta do it too. The first year is tough, the second year is easy.
Okay.
But basically it's sending out the emails and then tracking things and getting them excited.
What did Leanne, agree to do?
Leanne agreed to send out
Invoices.
the emails to the folks that were already there and then track checks that came back. People that said, yes, you know, like, yes, I'm in again next year.
Okay.
And track the checks. Her life has had a couple of things in there, so she told us a couple of weeks ago that she's not gonna be able to make that commitment. She's still on the board and she'll still be doing this, but she can't take that commitment, and what she had agreed to. And what Anna's expectations of what she was doing were also far apart, so that's why I was just saying, what does that mean? But it is the major fundraiser, so while we still need somebody at the head of the organization, we need all of us to help where we can. All right. Panel, we have the events. For this year, December is our second calendar year event that we've had. So we would be looking for 2 more cultural events for the next calendar year. No sooner are we done than we need to do it again. If you think of activities, thoughts, something that's cultural, whether it's a performance or crafting. Who was the woman that like presented about books and books throughout time, and then we made our own little books? You know, so it wasn't necessarily a musical thing. We had done the an improv group that kind of did the clue game.
Murder mystery in the
Yeah, the
library.
murder mystery in the library, you know, who did what, where and when. It's not that we can't repeat things, but I'm just giving you different examples so that we're not always talking about, you know, string quartet set up in the library for that. There's anything that we can put under the guise of cultural, we'd like to have 2 events. We do have the money from the Canal organization or gift to go through and do that. So put your thinking caps on, look through the papers, you see events, you see anything that you like, if you go anywhere, see anything, you know, and you like the performers. I mean, we had Acoustic Ireland, who I thought was great. So you had gone and then we had seen a little bit of their stuff and we just planned it. They travel all around the United States, so we planned it for when they were in New England, because that cost us less than trying to get them to, you know, come from Utah to Connecticut. So,
What's the budget?
look on
We
that.
get a price, we bring it to the board, we discuss it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So-
Even if it's a set price.
There isn't, and you know, if it's,
I mean, we're not gonna pay Taylor Swift to come, but.
No, I know. I didn't know if it was like, okay, you get $1,000.
but if we could get her email list.
Yeah.
Or the parental part of that email list.
Yeah, we paid a couple $1,000s in the past.
Okay. We just need to know that. We need to know.
Yeah. So.
But we built the high school auditorium.
Oh, we did. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's no charge. Remember, this library is no charge, so we don't charge anybody for admittance. Because that goes through. All right, so we've still got some open board positions, so if you know of anyone else that's interested in the board, we are still doing the shift
Oh, yeah.
for things, but not to worry about that, but we definitely have Republican town appointee positions that are open. So anybody knows anybody that is Republican or in that part, you can do that. We're doing the shuffle for the others. Does anybody know anybody? You wanna name names? Okay. Welcome again to our 2 new members. We're very happy that you're here.
Chris, how do you spell your last name?
It's not how it's spelled on the committee thing, but.
Thank you. Okay.
Mine's spelled like long.
So could you both spell your name so that Elizabeth could get it and then we'll all have it, right?
Sure, the last name's Riley. So I got a few extra vowels and consonants.
You know, that was my fault, sorry.
No, it's okay. I've seen it spelled so many, between my first name and last name, I've seen it spelled so many different ways.
It's BERNOCCO.
That's what happens when I try to do things fast off the top of my head without checking, so I apologize for that.
No.
But I don't publish this documents and I'll get them right. And, public participation, do we have anybody online for public participation?
No.
No, good. Anybody in the room for public participation, anything else?
The next council meeting is the last council meeting of this present council officially. And so
Then you go through.
what
the elections
happens
and
is
whoever-
the election will be here or not, or
And then we
whatever.
figure out who the
a
new
lot of things.
liaison
So,
vote.
it's been a pleasure over these last 2 years, whatever, maybe I'll be here later, maybe I won't.
Well,
Wow.
before you leave, remember, vote for Dave. He can't say that, but we can.
We want him back.
Yes, I can.
Yeah, you could say. So again, this was a long meeting, but I think it was very productive. We usually try to get a lot more done in committees so that, we have our stuff tight and going through. We send out the information before meetings so that we can look through it. And if you have questions, that's what it's for, because many times we are going to be voting on things. Sorry that this one was so long. But we will, I think we got a lot of good things accomplished. So I thank all of you.
The first full board meetings is last, we're we back.
Right, exactly. So hopefully now our meetings are going along, we're in the groove. moving
We'll
along.
just deduct the extra time that we had tonight, we'll deduct it from next month.
Okay,
George, make a motion to adjourn.
I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
They just did it.
Who did it? Andy?
No, I asked George to make a motion, so his name will be in the minutes,
So, yeah, I'm in motion for adjournment.
I second.
so he can prove to people that he was here.
All those in favor?